The sky was clear, but inside the cockpit, Captain Elias Novak felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. His mission was simple, at least on paper. Fly low over the village, release the payload, and return to base. The coordinates blinked on his console like a death sentence. The village below wasn't a military base, it wasn't a fortress. It was a cluster of homes, a marketplace, a schoolyard where children would soon be playing. Intelligence reports called it a strategic target. But to Elias, it was obvious. This was no enemy stronghold. It was a place of life. His radio crackled. "Captain Novak, you are cleared for engagement. Execute now." His hands hovered over the release switch. Sweat trickled down his temple, dampening his oxygen mask. He thought of the maps he had studied, the aerial photographs, tiny dots of people moving about, carrying baskets, tending fields. The command wanted them erased, nothing more than smoke and rubble, but his conscience screamed louder than his orders. He thought of his daughter, just 7 years old, with the same dark eyes he now imagined staring up from that village. Could he kill another man's child and still tuck his own into bed? "Captain Novak, confirm release." The voice on the radio was sharp, impatient. His finger trembled above the button. A single push, and dozens, perhaps hundreds, would die. A single refusal, and his own life might be destroyed. Disobedience meant court-martial. Prison. Maybe worse. Finally, Elias gripped the controls and pulled his aircraft upward, soaring high above the target. His voice cracked as he responded, "Negative. I will not engage." Silence, then fury. Commanders screamed in his ear, demanding explanations, ordering him to turn back, threatening him with treason. But Elias's decision was already made. He would not slaughter innocents for the sake of blind obedience. When he landed, military police were waiting. He was dragged from the cockpit, hands bound, uniform torn. Soldiers spat at him, called him a coward, a traitor, but he stood tall, his face calm. "I did my duty," he said, "to humanity, not to murder." News of his refusal spread quickly, both inside and outside the military. Some called him dishonorable, unfit to wear the uniform. Others called him the bravest man in the Air Force. Activists held his name high, while officials tried to bury it in silence. Elias endured a secret tribunal. Stripped of his rank, discharged without honors, and branded a disgrace, he walked out of the courtroom with nothing but his dignity. Yet he carried himself like a man unbroken. He knew he had saved lives that day, lives that would never know his name, but would go on to laugh, to love, to live. Years later, when the truth of the conflict emerged, many questioned the morality of the missions carried out. Entire villages had been wiped from existence, entire families erased. But one stood, untouched, because one man chose conscience over command. Elias Novak never flew again, at least not for the military. He lived quietly, teaching young pilots not just how to handle machines, but how to handle the weight of responsibility.